This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. This is another episode of Mountaineer Moment, the Backyard Brawl preview episode. Backyard Brawl set for the 13th, Saturday the 13th at 3:30 on ESPN. And we got you covered here with a preview of what to look for in this one. We'll talk all things West Virginia, all things Pitt, and the countdown to kickoff is on. Several different episodes dropping this week covering this important game. Covering the 108th edition of the Backyard Brawl between West Virginia and Pitt. This one in 2025 happening in Morgantown, and so it should be an electric atmosphere. And again, several episodes dropping this week. This one really being the official preview episode. There'll be bits and pieces from the previous ones covered in this one, and then a little extra, some added stuff here as we really get a look, take a little deep dive into Pitt and what they bring to the table, what they return from 2024, and then obviously a deep dive into West Virginia and how they can regroup and how they can bounce back and what to expect from them coming up on Saturday afternoon as they take the field against Pitt in a sellout crowd. Again, going to be just a really, really great atmosphere regardless of what the Mountaineers just did last weekend. It's on to Pitt. Obviously the same old story here with rivalry games. You throw all the stats and the record books out the window, and here we go. So this is an opportunity for West Virginia to get right, get back on track, refocus, and look to what's ahead with this matchup with the Pitt Panthers on Saturday. Again, we've got you covered here on Mountaineer Moment. Brand new podcast, and just super thrilled with the support and just how quickly this thing is growing. It's been really, really cool. So this is already our 19th episode, believe it or not, and this is a podcast that's been around just since the start of Mountaineer football season and the few days leading up to the Robert Morris game. So 19 episodes. We are getting them out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. So wherever you listen to podcasts or watch podcasts, make sure you subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated, and we can help you here on Mountaineer Moment, because this thing is here to stay. And again, episode 19 already, breaking down the official preview to the Mountaineers' Backyard Brawl with Pitt. And so we're going to jump right into it now. A little bit about Pitt first, then we'll talk about West Virginia, and then we'll talk about the two together and how this thing's going to play out. So Pitt started the season in 2024, if you remember. They started the season 7-0. One of those wins coming in comeback fashion in Pittsburgh in the Backyard Brawl. And then they went from really, really good to really, really bad. They lost 6 straight to end the season, 7-0 to 7-6 to end it. Pat Narduzzi, the head coach for his, I think 10th or 11th season, at Pitt. And he's a defensive-minded coach. And this is a Pitt Panther team that, as we're going to get into, as we take a little bit of a deep dive into their roster, there's not a whole lot of roster turnover. Certainly not the roster turnover that West Virginia has had with an all-new coaching staff and 81 new players on the roster. So, a tale of two different teams here, because Pitt does return a lot of talent on offense and defense, and guys that were obviously a part of that tale of two halves for a season for Pitt with 7-0, and then losing 6 straight is almost unheard of. I mean, that was quite the shift for them throughout the season. One of the other things that I remember standing out from their year last year when they were still unbeaten, they had 3 pick sixes in a win against Syracuse, 5 total interceptions in that game. So again, defensive-minded philosophy. They bring different looks and like to get after the quarterback and disrupt plays in that manner. But 5 picks, 3 of which were returned for pick sixes for Pitt, and a win over Syracuse last season. Offensively, their quarterback, Eli Holstein, is back. Mountaineer fans remember him. He threw for over 300 yards, just over 300, and 3 touchdowns in the Backyard Brawl last season. He's not Parker Navarro of Ohio on the ground, but he's a little bit of a threat to get it done with his legs too. Against West Virginia last year, it really, really proved to hurt them. 14 carries for him and 59 yards in the brawl last year. And he's off to a really good start in 2025 in wins over Duquesne, blowout wins over Duquesne and Central Michigan. Eli Holstein has thrown for 519 yards over those two games. His completion percentage is at 70%. 8 touchdowns and 2 picks. 4 touchdowns in both of his first 2 games. He's 6'4", 225, big physical quarterback. Again, obviously hard to bring down sometimes when he scrambles or has some run plays. So he is back and transferred from Alabama, who's obviously found some success during his time in Pittsburgh over the last little bit, over the last couple seasons. Last year on the whole, missed a couple games, but he threw for 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 7 picks. And again, this year off to a really good start with completion percentage up over 70 and 8 touchdowns through 2 games. Hard to argue with that, regardless of who you're playing, right? So Holstein's back. Desmond Reid, their star running back, returns as well. He had 966 yards rushing a season ago on over 5 yards per carry. Also 5 touchdowns on the ground. And then, if you watch the brawl last year, he ended up, I think he caught 2 touchdowns. Didn't catch a ton of passes, but he did have, maybe that wasn't him. Who was that? Let me see here. Let's see. But anyway, 966 yards for Desmond Reid, and he gets it done through the air as well. So let's see. Yeah, he did. He had 4 catches against the Mountaineers last season, and 2 of them were touchdowns. He had 50 total yards. He had 11 carries for 26 yards against the Mountaineers. I mean, he didn't do much on the ground, but he was a threat through the air, and he proved to be a threat through the air all season long for Pitt. Because he went for he caught 52 passes for 579 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, that's about as good of a receiving running back season that you're going to see in college football. I mean, almost 600 yards to go along with nearly 1,000 yards on the ground, and he returns 9 total touchdowns. So he's obviously a big threat, big part of the Pitt offense. It's not that he's had a quiet start to the season through 2 games, but just 18 carries and 112 yards and a touchdown. And then through the air has 71 yards on 6 catches. So I would expect, obviously they didn't need him to do a ton through first 2 games because of their opponents and just the way things worked out. But I would expect for the Pitt to really try and involve Desmond Reid this weekend. I mean, he's such a big threat on the ground and through the air at 5'8", shifty guy, and really solid running back that Pitt has. Not gonna lie. So Mountaineers got to keep an eye on him because of his track record, and again, even what he did against them last year. Whole different team on West Virginia. I get that, but we remember as fans what he did. Pitt did lose their number 1 wideout from 2024, but they return Poppy Williams and Kenny Johnson. Kenny Johnson, 537 yards last year and 3 touchdowns. Williams with 6 touchdowns and 400-plus yards. And he's off to a really good start this season is Poppy Williams. 7 catches, 166, and 2 touchdowns so far through 2 games. Pitt did do some work in the portal. On offense, added a couple receivers, one from Louisville and one from FSU. One of those guys, I forget which one, has a touchdown already to start the season. So they come transferring from FSU and Louisville, not doing a whole lot there as far as playing time or production. But, they're here at Pitt and getting involved in whatever way that they can. So I did some numbers even here on what Pitt returns as far as just production and what those guys contributed in 2024. So as far as the offense is concerned, they returned 6 starters, contributing to 64% of their total production, and that ranks 33rd nationally as far as offense and returning production, and it ranks 4th in the ACC. So no slouch. Again, it's not the West Virginia situation as far as roster turnover. They we talked extensively about the quarterback and running back and Holstein and Reid, but they return a lot, 64% of their overall production, putting them just outside the top 25 nationally and fourth in the ACC. Pitt in 2024, again with that strong quarterback and running back duo, despite the ending the season with 6 straight losses. They scored 428 points all season, 34th nationally, 45th ranked in total yards on the season for the Pitt Panthers. Again, Holstein is a factor. He's good. 8 touchdowns to start the year, so a solid start. And we'll talk a little bit just a little bit about what Zach Alley and the West Virginia defense can do to hopefully stop Holstein. And, he's thrown 4 touchdowns in the first 2 games, and so you want to avoid that coming out here in the Backyard Brawl. Offensive line, they returned some guys up there. I think 3 of the starters are back, and a couple transfers, one that they got from Michigan and one from Richmond, who bolster that unit. Offensive line, obviously, again, new pieces, and curious to see how Pitt's going to, again, I think they will seek to get Reid involved more so, on the ground. Pitt did run the ball against Duquesne, 27 carries, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Reid led the way for Pitt, 66 yards and 8 carries. And then against Central Michigan at home this past weekend, Pitt, those numbers dipped down a little bit rushing. 26 carries for 124 yards. Reid, 10 carries for 46 yards for 4.6 yards a pop. And Holstein actually broke one for 31 yards, not a touchdown, but a 31-yard run for him. And so you take that away, then they're down to 25 carries for under 100 yards, which is under 4 yards a carry against Central Michigan. So I think it's safe to say that Pitt, if you were to ask Coach Narduzzi, or maybe he has even said this in press conferences and what have you, but passing the ball, they've, outside of Holstein's 2 picks, I mean, they've been able to really get the ball downfield. 8 touchdowns for Holstein to come out the gate through 2 games. And the rushing attack, while they've gone over 100 yards over the first 2 games, they've, there's some potential there that, hey, maybe West Virginia can come out and stop the run. If you're going to take away one of these elements, I'd be more confident in that based on what Pitt's done and even what West Virginia's done. So keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on Holstein in the rushing attack, because he hurt us last year. We obviously know what Navarro did last week. I think I said it on an episode earlier this week, or maybe one of the Ohio postgame episodes. Like, Navarro just, for a guy that threw 3 interceptions in a game, that might have been one of the better 3 interception games I've seen from a quarterback at the college level, right? Because he was still over 70% passing, was their leading rusher with over 80 yards, and made some pretty good throws through that game. So I wouldn't be surprised, again, if Pitt desires to get Reid more involved. He had 10 carries and 8 carries in their first 2 wins. I would expect more than that, I think. Coming on the road in week 3 against your rival, look for Reid to be a guy heavily involved in the offense as far as Pitt is concerned, and what they are desiring to do. So that's Pitt on the offensive side of the ball. Lots of familiar faces if you've kept up, with the Backyard Brawl, the last few years, but certainly last year with Holstein and Reid, and return a lot of guys on that side of the ball that has had some success, offensively over the last season, and to start the 2025 season as well. So on the defensive side of things, again, Narduzzi, a defensive-minded coach, not a lot of turnover on the defensive side of things either. They added a few pieces, but a lot of their top guys are back. They lost a couple of guys to the NFL, and I think I I saw one who transferred to Indiana, but other than that, they return a lot of talent. They return a lot of their top tacklers from a season ago. Their top defensive linemen, linebackers, and guys in the secondary. A lot of that production is back. You got Kyle Lewis, who's a preseason All-American at linebacker, had just a phenomenal season for Pitt last year, and he's back, and he is a force. Someone that the Mountaineer offense is going to have to keep their eye on, and definitely on the scouting report with Kyle Lewis. He had 100 tackles last season, was second on the team behind Donovan McMillan, who is now on to the Browns, and got some playing time in their Week 1 game with Cleveland in the NFL. They have Rasheem Biles, who's back, who is their third leading tackler. He's a linebacker as well. Very versatile player and a good leader. On the defensive line, Sean Fitzsimmons is back. They return a couple other guys, up front there. And then in the secondary, Rashad Battle and Javon McIntyre, guys that are back for this team, again, that you'd recognize from seasons past. And so this is a team that, again, you can talk all day long about this team that returns a lot of production, a lot of talent, a lot of this, a lot of that. But they ended their season in 2024 reeling, like 6 straight losses. That's not what the doctor ordered. And, certainly some things contributing to that, such as injuries and what have you. But, doesn't matter how much talent you return if it's from a 7-6 ball team, So just saying, as far as the defense is concerned, that's something to be aware of, that this is a team that, yes, returns pieces, but it returns pieces from a team that ultimately went 7-6 a season ago, really is what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get at here. It's not like they're unbeatable. But there's obviously more stability. There's less question marks as to who's going to come out and get so many snaps compared to what West Virginia has. Again, if we flip things over to the guys on the field in Morgantown and what that means and how this all applies there. But, offensive line is probably the first place to start for West Virginia. Lots of question marks. Now, that has been the case preseason. That was the case after Week 1, and it's certainly the case after Week 2 because of the performance of that O-line against Ohio and just unable to pass protect, unable to open holes for running backs, and it was just a long day. Their PFF grades were not pretty and just not good. So West Virginia has to, if they're going to have any chance in this game, offensive line has to improve. We're going to touch on that every single episode, previewing Pitt and maybe even the ones moving forward because it's just that important. And that important in this Rich Rod system. We know, obviously, the breaking news coming out this week that Jahiem White is done for the season, the Mountaineers' star running back, starting wide receiver, Jaden Bray, done for the season. And so now, unfortunately, like as bad as that is and as heartbreaking it is for those guys and for this team, it's the next man up mentality, right? There's lots of guys on this roster. Rich has talked a lot all offseason about wanting to break a record for most guys playing in a season and in a game. And, now you're getting your opportunity to do that, Coach, because there are lots of question marks as far as who is going to see the field at running back, who's going to be the guys to take Bray's spot at receiver. This offensive line situation, as poorly as they played against Ohio, they were the only ones that saw the field like that. Those 5 were the guys that played. Now that is kind of alarming for 2 reasons. One is they played so poorly, and you kept them in, because, you either thought that they were going to get better and improve, or 2, you're just that afraid to throw in the second-string guys. So the question ultimately now that we're going to see answered in Week 3 is Rich just going to roll out these same 5 guys? And are they going to struggle, one, or are they going to get better and improve? And they would have to improve a lot for West Virginia to have a chance in this game. And So a little bit of a cause for concern, right? When someone's playing that bad as a unit and you don't replace a single one of them, that tells you that you don't have a lot of confidence in the guys behind them. That's just that's 2 + 2 is 4, right? Like that's just simple. So will we see the same unit, or will we see things mixed up? And if we do see it mixed up, how are those guys going to play? Are they going to earn their snaps and give Rich a reason to keep them on the field in the backyard brawl and moving forward? So keep an eye on the offensive line situation. Secondly, keep an eye on the running back situation, with Jahiem White now done. Who steps up, and what is that going to look like? Rich Rod, even in his presser on Tuesday, was like, well, we don't really, like the use of saying a running back by committee, but there's going to be guys that are going to get an opportunity to, showcase why they belong on the field. So you got Sincere Bowers, you got Clay Ash, you got Dior Hubbard, you got Ty Edwards, who I don't even think he mentioned Ty Edwards in the press conference on Tuesday. Not sure why, but I do recall those 3 first guys I named being mentioned. So I would definitely expect all 3 of those guys to get carries, even Ty Edwards maybe. I saw someone say, Rodney Gallagher, now you're playing running back. Who knows at this point? But just circumstances that are crazy because you lose your star running back week 2, in the first half of week 2 and he's out for the season. And so keep an eye on the running back situation. Next man up, but also these guys are going to get opportunities, and who's going to take it and run away with it and earn it and earn more carries. So keep an eye on that for West Virginia and how it's going to play out against Pitt. And again, this defense that has lots of experience, returns lots of talent, returns a preseason All-American at linebacker. You had better bet, you better block him. So just keep an eye on that, how the West Virginia running attack is going to look without Jahiem White. And for being honest, it would be hard for this offense to look worse, because it was so bad. It was so bad. I keep coming back to, with that Ohio game, 3 second-half picks that your defense gets for you, and all you need to go get is a touchdown to tie the game, and other possessions as well. But 3 second-half picks, and you couldn't do it. And 2 of those times you started on the Ohio 49. Another time you're close to midfield on the West Virginia side of the field, and you couldn't get it done. You not only could you not get it done, you couldn't get a first down. Not only could you not get a first down, you could barely get any yards. It was bad. And, the time of possession was in favor of Ohio with 40-plus minutes with them having the ball. And it's, that's kind of the thing that happens if you like to play fast, but you're not picking up first downs. You have so many 3-and-outs. The longest Mountaineer drive was 7 plays twice, and one resulted in a turnover on downs, and one resulted in that field goal that the West Virginia got in the second half. That was it. So this running back situation, this quarterback situation to keep an eye on, as Rich didn't even name a starter in his press conference on Tuesday. Still says he's going to evaluate and see how things shake out. I don't necessarily expect that I don't know, actually. I was about to say I think we'll see Nico run out there first, but I don't know. I don't know at this point. A lot of people are calling for Scotty Fox. Not sure that that'll happen. And Jalen Henderson hasn't completed a pass yet, but to be fair, he hasn't really, he was 0 for 2 on Saturday. They're pretty inaccurate throws. But, you give him more than a couple series, maybe he's capable. Who knows? This is wild. I guess we should have come to expect it a little bit. But, we just named off 3 things. One, an offensive line situation where you almost hope that he's going to give someone else a chance because of how bad those 5 were. A running back situation where your star is gone and you don't really know who your second guy is. Certainly no one's proven to be that guy yet through 2 games. And then the quarterback situation is, according to Rich, still undecided or up in the air. And that's only 3 position groups we've talked about. That's the offense right there. Boom. Now, it's interesting. Jimmori Robinson, at least at the time of recording, it seems like that situation is continuing to kind of go back and forth. I think he's able to practice. It's still so confusing. It looked like, he's planning on playing Saturday, but now it's like, maybe not so fast. So at least at the time I'm recording, there's still some things undecided there. But you want to talk about an X factor on defense, former conference player of the year in the AAC. Like, that's a guy that West Virginia wants on the field, and they want him on the field now. So if he plays Saturday, keep an eye on how many snaps he's going to get and the impact that he has with those snaps. So Jimmori Robinson, that would be fantastic if we could get him on the field. Perhaps, and I think this is something we've talked about all week, but perhaps one of the matchups to keep an eye on is Eli Holstein against the West Virginia secondary. Again, I mentioned I think Pitt is going to seek to run the ball a little bit more, but if they're not finding success, man, they're going to let Eli let it rip. And he's proven to be capable of doing just that. How's this West Virginia secondary gonna fare against a team in Pitt that has some weapons offensively? Even has a guy coming out of the backfield that went for over 500 yards receiving last year. How are they gonna fare against that? And then can Zach Alley dial up some pressure to get Zach Alley? Can Zach Alley dial up pressure to get Eli Holstein flustered and forced into some picks or forced into some rush throws or some sacks, some hurries and knockdowns, that kind of thing. Very intrigued to see what Zach Alley is going to do this weekend as far as scheme and blitz packages and things. I mean, they're coming off a shutout against Ohio in the second half. Looked much better in the second half than in the first half. And, Alley even acknowledged that as well, coming after the game, that there's some first half stuff to work on, especially on that back end of the secondary. I mean, I remember a couple plays, especially, that passing touchdown. I mean, the dude was wide open, just wide open. And you cannot have that. So that's the matchup to me is the Mountaineer secondary against Holstein, and then trying to get pressure on him. Obviously, Jimmori Robinson can play a huge role in that if he's out there. But who else is going to step up, and what kind of disguised looks can you bring to make him confused and force him into some interceptions? Again, he has 2 already through 2 games, and give the West Virginia offense another opportunity to capitalize on that opportunity. With the defense forcing fumbles or picks or what have you, can the offense capitalize on that? Zach Alley acknowledged as well that, Pitt's going to, look to take some shots deep. And while I think, they're going to look to establish the run even more than they did in the first couple weeks, but as far as what they like to do, again, Holstein is a capable quarterback who can run it as well. And, even Narduzzi, defensive-minded, and they're going to look to bring some pressure. They're going to look to confuse our quarterback, whoever that's going to be. And, you can bet that obviously they're aware that Jahiem White is out for the season and a starting receiver in Jaden Bray is out for the season. And so their DBs are going to be, up close and, looking to disrupt things from the snap of the ball. Fiery defense with, again, lots of different looks and lots of different schemes as well for Pitt. How's West Virginia going to fare against that? Because this is a step up in competition, right? And we just lost to Ohio. And now we're playing against a team with the preseason All-American at linebacker and return a lot of talent on defense at all 3 levels, from the line to the linebackers to the secondary. How is West Virginia going to adjust, and how are they going to get better? Because, again, can't get worse offensively. Cannot get worse. All right, so there's a little preview into the Backyard Brawl. A few things in there to kind of keep an eye on as the game progresses. And we're going to have another episode specifically geared toward talking about, okay, what can West Virginia do to win? What can West Virginia do to win? Because it's a rivalry game. You're coming off an absolute egg that you just laid in Ohio. How can you bounce back and win? How can you... Really, it's, again, step up in competition. Are you going to get better? The week 2 to week 3 jump is going to have to be massive if West Virginia wants to win this game. So again, on that next episode, we're going to talk about a few different things that West Virginia has to have happen, has to fix in order to win the Backyard Brawl at home here in 2025 in front of, again, a sellout crowd. It's going to be a lot of fun, but winning is more fun. And if the product that's out on the field at 3:30 on Saturday looks anything like it did last Saturday, that sellout crowd's going to be gone by the middle of the fourth quarter because it's going to be bad. So you have things to fix, and you have to fix them now in order to win this game, in order to win the Backyard Brawl. So, again, West Virginia and Pitt set to do battle in the 108th edition of the Backyard Brawl coming up on Saturday afternoon at 3:30 from Mountaineer Field. We'll have you covered with post-game reaction, in the couple days that follow that game, and we'll gear up for conference play after that. But right now, our focus is on the Backyard Brawl on Saturday. This is Mountaineer Moment, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you're at. Please consider subscribing and help us help you. We'll see you next time. Let's go Mountaineers.